The purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is very strongly advised for this episode.
All right, so I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Demetrius.
And Meeches presents
the Blurred City Podcast.
All right, so we are in our second week of our Philosophy of Pain character study series. So for last week, we started with Pain from Naruto, got into his whole backstory, kind of just covering, okay, how did his philosophy of pain get started, the trauma that he went through, his ideology, his methods, kind of getting into that, and just like his entire character arc in the Naruto Shippuden series, which is what we like to do with character studies. So today we are going to be covering Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Just at the top, there's a lot of historical context within his own show, and then also kind of going on right now that, and then next week we are covering Eren Yeager, Big Daddy Eren, with his philosophy, and just kind of, if you've watched Attack on Titan, you understand how that ended. So again, trigger warning potentially as we go through Scar's character arc. Before we get into the character study series of Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, last week, by the time we finished recording, the something that we need to cover dropped like 2-3 days later. So Deadpool and Wolverine, Meech, what are your thoughts?
We're cooking. Deadpool 3 for 3, band for band. I'm saying, firstly, we got my goat. We got Goat Jacked, huge jacked man, back at it again. You know, once again, taking up that yellow costume for the first time. I'm like, I almost was in tears, especially when I saw the sleeveless version. I was, if you guys think I'm glazing, I don't care. But let's just say, like, Wolverine, like, this is it. This is the moment. Hey, we do not care how they were trying to introduce mutants into the MCU. Nah, this is it. This is how you do it, boys. And also, the fact of the matter is that, like, again, it's Deadpool. It's going to be hilarious. Now, there's only one thing in this trailer that had me completely at the end of my seat. I was terrified. I was scared for my life. And that was when Wolverine, he had popped the 3 claws and he scoured it into Deadpool's
yes,
manhood. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I'm in pain right now.
If that's what they showed in the trailer, imagine what they haven't showed yet.
Oh nah, yeah, we ain't making it. So next thing I do need to tell y'all, do not bring your kids to this movie. This ain't for y'all. Just like how Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 weren't for them, this one ain't no different. We don't care. Also, I love seeing all of the references, like all of the meta jokes that's already in this trailer alone. It has me geeked, and it's also having me, well, at first I would say like, oh yes, I'm about to raise some questions, but then I'm like, wait, this is a Deadpool movie. It don't have to make sense. It don't have to make sense. And that is the craziest thing I can say.
Yeah, the one at the end had me rolling. So there's going to be so many Disney shots.
Not Disney shots, the RIP of Fox, the TVA being TVAing, and all I have to say is that I don't know when this takes place, but I don't care.
Yeah, I think this has a big impact on superhero movies in general in terms of forcing companies, directors, whoever heads of the stories to switch up, you know, the same way that James Gunn had the impact of the Guardians of the Galaxy, also of like the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Man, this has a chance to like really turn Disney to like explore different avenues and not be copy and paste, as some people say. And then we have Daredevil Born Again coming at some point in the next year or two. So I think this is going to be super big for superhero movies in general and like give it new life. And also the fact that we are now 5 years removed from Endgame, which I've been seeing all over social media, and those reactions again.
Yeah, I have. I've heard that too. I'm like, geez, it's been 5 years already.
I know.
We are living in the Endgame timeline right now.
Dude, the the pandemic took so many years from us.
Man, don't even bring that up, man.
All right, so jumping into it again, we are doing character study. So for this, we usually take mini characters. So last week we did Pain, we've done Gaara, we've done Naruto, we've done Vegeta, multiple other ones as well. Just so we break down their entire arc, their motivations, character stories, interactions. Something usually we like to do side characters, so it kind of like shows how it forces the main characters to grow in a sense, which is also an effective use of a side character in our opinion. So with that, we're doing once again Scar, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Meech, if you want to take off.
Yep. So I do want to preface this that the version of Scar that we're covering is from the Fullmetal Alchemist manga and Brotherhood series from 2009. Not the 2003 version. So that version is basically, well, it started off the same and then became a different character. We're going over the main quote unquote canon version of Scar. And what better to start off than just by like who Scar is? And basically he was is Ishvalan fundamentalist. Now you may be wondering what in the world the Ishvalan are. They're basically kind of like a group of of monks, and this is again, there's a reason we have the trigger warning. They're kind of like the more of the like Middle Eastern type of people, very like religious oriented, and their main thing is the fact that alchemy, which is kind of like the magic system of Fullmetal Alchemist, who'd have thought, is they consider it an abomination to God because of the fact they view that God is the only thing that has the right to create. And alchemy is literally the art of creating things out of nothing or transmutating, if you will. So really, like, first time you see Scar is actually at the tail end of the most heartbreaking and the first true canon event of all time, which is the Shao Tucker episode. I'm not gonna get into it, but essentially he, like, the first time you see Scar, he pops in, he does what all of us wanted to do, and takes Shao Tucker off the senses and puts the Chimera to rest. Of course, like when he's killing Shao Tucker, he has no remorse whatsoever, but he does express a little bit of sadness at the fact like, hey, I'm sorry for what happened to you, but now you can rest, and then kills her. So how he kills her is the fact that like one of his arms, basically his arm, there's a whole thing going later, but we'll touch up on that later. But essentially, as of right now, what you find is like whatever he touches, he can break down back to their original components, which, as you know, is atoms and carbon, so basic units of life. So it gets disintegrated to nothing. All right.
Yes.
But yeah, so like that's basically Scar, and he's starts off as the main antagonist of Fullmetal Alchemist for like the first like arc, if you will. Yeah. Because his whole goal is killing state alchemists. He killed like 5 outright.
Yeah, so I remember that also being part of his earlier introduction, just like, alchemists at this time were being introduced into the world are the most powerful of the most powerful in a sense. And like he's like taking them out with ease. And then also being the first op to the Elric brothers and like fighting them to a standstill, which was really impressive because, especially at the time, Alphonse and then Edward both working together, they couldn't take him down. So that's really interesting. And then also with the fundamentalists kind of touching into that, I know like deeper we'll get more and more, but just like the fact that he can use alchemy himself is an interesting development that we learn because of him and his previous background.
And what else way to think about this except to go into his backstory? Yeah, I feel like we kind of buried the lead long enough, but essentially, again, this is probably where the trigger warning is like going to be in full swing. So, at the behest of the Führer, King Adolf Bradley. Wait, sorry.
Also known as Homunculus Wrath.
Yeah, sorry, King Bradley, aka Wrath of the homunculi. He pretty much orders, in order to like create a massive amount of souls to, create a giant gateway for a father who's the true main antagonist of the series to reach God and become God. He decides to like take all of the military, which includes pretty much all the state alchemists at the time. Of course, the Elwick brothers, they weren't part of it. Like they were living good. They basically were living normal lives at this time. This is far, far in the past. But essentially, state alchemists started coming in. All the military started coming into the Ishval area, where these monks, they were just chilling. They were just trying to like live peacefully. And then the state alchemists, the military comes in from basically Germany, because like I'm being dead serious about this.
It's very coded.
Nah, it like in the 03 series, like literally like at the end of it, Elwood goes to like the alternate version of his world, and it literally is them in Germany. So to say that the real Fullmetal Alchemist, the world that they're living in, is literally Germany, I'm just saying like that's what it was. So yeah, so basically Germany comes in and just starts massacring these Ishvalan people left and right.
Now, I have a question just for clarification, because it was called the Ishvalan Civil War, but were they fighting amongst themselves as well? I'm trying to recall that.
So the reason why it's called the Civil War is because of the fact that Amestris and Ishval were right in the same area.
Okay.
It's the equivalent of America's the North versus the South type.
Okay.
And so like they were literally just right there next to each other, and it took Amestris, aka Germany, to literally just go, you know what, let's kill these Ishvalans, these Ishvalan people. And yeah, so this war is basically brutal. Every single state alchemist is committing so many war crimes.
I mean, atrocities, yeah.
Atrocities, especially this certain sociopath named Kimberly. Kimberly is the Red Lotus alchemist, and he just enjoys killing. And in his murder spree, he ends up attacking this young monk. And in his attack, this monk loses his right arm and gets a giant cross-shaped scar on his forehead. And so literally, like, that is the first origin of Scar. But also going into it, like, he has an older brother, right?
Yep.
His older brother was kind of like, I don't know what's the best way to describe it, but essentially he wanted to study like alchemy. He wanted to study alchemy.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like, hey, it's not wrong to study these things out, and it's not going against God to study it out, and I'm just not going to use it. And he has like alchemy and he's able to use it. But
yeah.
Oh, what was
I was just going to say it was interesting because he wasn't just studying like the main alchemy. He was also studying it from like the foreign nation, and that kind of tied into the ending of the show as well. And then Scar just being like, again, like you mentioned, the fundamentalist, wanting nothing to do with it, losing his arm. And again, his brother like stepped in to kind of save him, and turns out like he had to give up his own arm in that case.
Yeah, so he literally loses. So his brother gives up his own right arm that has all the tattoos and markings for alchemy and gives it to his brother. So Scar technically is able to use alchemy, but upon waking up, waking up like in a daze, like he like just, he just experienced straight tragedy.
Yeah.
And then he sees just two Amestris doctors who, unbeknownst to him, saved his life.
Yeah.
But he sees just the enemy, flies into a blind rage, and murders these two doctors, who end up, as we find out, to be the parents of Winry, who's the main love interest of Edward, which triggers which triggers something a lot later, which we're gonna get into. But essentially, he wakes up, murders those two, and he says like his entire family's dead.
Yeah.
And now he's just start like killing other Amestrians left and right, so much so that his fellow Ishvalan people kind of disowned him after that.
Yeah.
And these are like Ishvalan survivors. They're like, hey, typically you'd be like, all right, survivors of a massacre, like everybody needs to come together, be a cohesive unit. But you have done so much like destruction. You've kind of gone against the will of God, because we're like peaceful people. We're kind of pacifists, if you will. We don't like indulge in violence at all, but you did. And you're kind of like
to that level, yeah.
Yeah, and to that level. And you're no better than the people who basically enslaved us.
And yeah, it's super interesting that he's called Scar the entire series. And the thing is, like, he did obviously have a name, but he forsaked his name because of his mission. He was a misguided sense of justice where he's like, I am God's divine punishment. These state alchemists destroyed my people, destroyed all of my family, took over my home of Meeches. And it's like, it's my job to get rid of these evil people in a sense, and then also to rebuild Meeches, which is something that gets touched on a bit later. But it kind of just like, since we're here, goes on like, even with the monks being like, yo, you're taking this too far. It reminds me of Dune 2 to use my enemy's tactics. I have to become like my enemy in order to defeat my enemies. And it just ties into real life events, whether current or historical, where it's like, hey, you just destroyed my entire family. That hatred builds, which we touched on with Pain and which we'll touch on with Eren Yeager, into a cycle. And then also later, once we get into Winry and that interaction of just like, hey, the moment you pick up that weapon to become my enemy, it just keeps going and going and going. So
a cycle that's kind of just hatred, like, if you will.
Exactly, which is just crazy. But with that, you also mentioned he has times of compassion. He doesn't necessarily target indiscriminately Amestrians later on, seeing with kind of just the interactions. If you're not really a direct state alchemist, he's not going to do much, which kind of gets into his interactions with Mei Ching.
So yeah, so like when it comes to Mei Ching, like she's a member of basically she's part of basically Asia, the Asia of the FMA world. And like she's pretty much trying to like study alchemy history and try to learn more about alchemy as well. And he's just straight up like he just deals with her. Like she doesn't threaten him in any way. Like it's kind of just back and forth, like they're cool and whatnot. But then like he goes in and he fights he meets up with Lust and Gluttony of the, I was about to say 7 deadly sins. No, they're the homunculi. I'm like, nope. This is not 7 deadly sins. It's not 7 deadly sins, even though they're named that. And he basically like is about to get killed by them because in fact his powers don't work on them because they just endlessly regenerate unless you're Roy Mustang. But that's my goat. But yeah, so he recognized like her from Shing. Yeah, and like she helps him. Like they form kind of like a duo, really, because of the fact that she recognizes the markings on his arm. I was like, hold on, this is fascinating stuff. So they come together in the end, and then they run afoul of the alchemist, of the Fullmetal Alchemist, the Elric brothers again. And unfortunately, it's at this point that Winry finds out that he's the one who murdered her parents. And that pretty much just sends her down a spiral for a while, to the point where she actually goes out to find Scar and pulls out the blicky on him. Like straight up, she's like, I want to kill you for murdering my parents. and like Elric brothers, they're trying to tell her not to do it. But here's something very interesting. He tells her that, like, yeah, you have every right to do that. Like, I murdered your parents. Yeah, it's well within your rights to do so. But just know that you pull that trigger, it's up for you. Like, you become my enemy, and then I'll kill you. And he declares that the cycle of hatred will never end until one side is completely destroyed. And just remember that it's your people who drew the first blood. And that's a quote from Scar himself. I'm like, dang.
Jeez. It's wild because, again, the Emestrian people, the Ishvalan people, if you will, they're different. They have the darker skin, the red eyes, and we've seen like all of the blonde hair, very light skin, and all that.
Blue eyes mostly.
Exactly, where it's like, oh, we're the good guys. We can take over because you're in our way. You're just like an op in a sense. And he's like, okay, Winry, you can pull the gun, but it's like you mentioned, it's on. And it just like kind of goes to show where, man, I'm your enemy because of accidents that happen, not meaning, again, to kill her parents. And he even understood, like, dang, that was messed up for me to do that, considering my circumstances. But even if you're justified, it just has to keep going. And I think, like, going back to Mei Chang also, she's probably the first person, at least seeing him in the show, that doesn't treat him like a monster. She's like, she heals him. She like isn't scared of him whatsoever. He helps to protect her. And I think that's like super important, where kind of like we talked about it before, where it's like, if you see a person as a person, just start there and then you can build from it, where oftentimes there's so many labels that can be negative in a sense. So yeah.
But yeah, so continuing on with that, right? I think like another aspect that like I really love about just Scar is, like, again, you're starting to see like just moments of his humanity. Like there's a moment where like he defeats Edward, and like he doesn't, like, you tell like he's about to kill him, but he stops himself for just a brief moment before the Elrics get saved. And it's like, was he gonna kill him or not? Like, what was going on there?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just moving on in the story, like he encounters the homunculi again. He's basically pursued on all sides. He's getting attacked by chimeras, but May is there basically to like help heal him, treat him as like a person, be his only friend, and at a certain point he just has too much injuries. Like he's trying to like save May, and then he runs into Alphonse again, and he's like, listen, I just need help, man. and essentially like it became an enemy of my enemy type of scenario where like they're able to work together, but still it's like, you still an op to me, especially for what you did with Winry's parents, and then obviously like I'm an op to you because of the fact I keep murdering your state alchemists and I'm still a murderer.
And then I think with enemy of enemy, we also have to talk about his interactions with Dr. Marco.
Ooh, yeah.
So again, Dr. Marco was the one behind the massacre. I believe it was for the formation of a Philosopher's Stone.
Yep.
Is that, yeah. So again, trying to get the Philosopher's Stone, that was kind of like the main goal, particularly of the 2003 series. But in this Fullmetal Alchemist, he was behind it, and then Scar disfigures him completely. What his face, again, he had a chance to kill Dr. Marco, the man responsible for the death of his brother, family, and a lot of his people, and he only spared him because he needed information from him. But I do think, like, again, Dr. Marco was also repentant of just like his actions, so I think that had a definite impact.
Absolutely. So I think like, yeah, and then at this point it came from a 2-man group to a 3-man group, which is Scar, May, and then the deformed Marco. So from there they pretty much, again, they're on the run. Marco's trying to like help get to the Elrics and everything like that. Of course, Kimberly comes in, and because Kimberly's now after Marco as well, because Philosopher's Stone. Woo! And upon seeing Kimberly, Scar was like, "It's on sight.
Yes.
Run me them ones." And they actually go band for band back and forth, and Scar's about to win, but Kimberly just blows up the cable car that they were on, and just like, whoop, I'm out. See ya.
Like a coward.
Yeah, so at this point, it's like now Scar, like he's getting there back at square one again. Now they're trying to figure out, like, all right, how in the world we're gonna like lick our wounds and whatnot. And they run into like some human chimera who unlike what happened with a certain person, but they're like able to go back and forth between their human and animal states. They decide to join up. He's like, what's up? It's like, we're not ops at all. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. And yeah, so like, and then, this is when Winry confronts him again. And this part, it's no longer like they don't have like full blood, like she don't have the blicky on her, but they just sit down and have a conversation. And I think like this conversation is like really is just really eye-opening for Scar, because like she's just like asking like, why'd you kill my parents? And that he just goes, I don't know why I killed them. And I know like in my path of revenge, I'm out here committing murders left and right. And I'm your enemy. You have every right to do so. And it's Winry who breaks the cycle of hatred, breaks the cycle of revenge, because he said like, I'm not gonna do it. And she actually like helps heal him, because like that's what my parents would have done.
Yeah.
But she still doesn't forgive him for what he did. She's just not going to take vengeance out on him.
That's tough. Again, throughout the course of kind of like learning this, we learned that she's justified. I mean, even like Edward still wants to kind of take him out in a sense, not necessarily kill him, but he does want to like harm him. Like they're not tight throughout any part of the series, but Winry being able to free herself of the cycle and then to an extent Scar from the cycle was definitely a powerful moment. Something else that was super powerful, and it occurs somewhat around this time frame, is when he meets the other Ishvalan, Miles, who is a soldier within the Amestris army and also a state alchemist. He's kind of, again, dark skinned, but he wears goggles to cover up his red eyes in a sense. And he's learning about, okay, instead of going on your mission to rebuild just like Ishval and Amestris, how about you work to change it from the inside? Which again is a powerful like ideological thing, where it's like kind of throughout history where you see like an oppressed people are like, hey, we have to tear down society and rebuild it up, versus, hey, let's work within society to make change, which is going to be much longer and possibly much harder, if you want to kind of touch on that.
Yeah, like this is actually a major thing that's happened, like again throughout history and also in certain media as well. Just the idea like, hey, like I see prime example is actually what happens in like Go Go Loser Ranger, the anime, where essentially like the main character is a monster and he's pretending to be human so he can infiltrate the Ranger Academy so he can kill the Rangers. But like one of the main characters who recruited him, he realizes that he's a monster, and he goes like, hey, like I understand like that you guys are pretty much like the voiceless right now, like you guys have been getting disadvantaged and you've been like basically been the whipping boys for this entire time. You should be part of our group. That way you can speak out and be the voice of the voiceless and be able to change things from within. Of course, it doesn't end that way in the episode, but
yeah, hacks were made.
Yeah. People were put in pack watch. It was crazy. So many packs got smoked that day. But in any case, like still just the fact like, hey, when it comes to like where we're at now as a society, there's a lot of people who are like, hey, my voice isn't heard, and I feel like I don't have any people who could be that voice for us. So like, what are we gonna do? Then people step in and become that voice. Like another prime example in real life, I just think of like what happened with the election of Barack Obama. Like that was a killer moment for the African American community who felt like disenfranchised for eons at this point. And like saying like, hey, especially in America, it's like, hey, we have a black president. We have a president who understands where we're coming from, who understands like what we've gone through, and he's in charge. So like, I feel like that gives us that hope, and that hope is like what drives us on. And I feel like that's part of like what his slogan was.
Yeah. Yeah, so just even coming back to Scar, I think we can get into his arm a lot of, because at this time it's converging towards the end of the story, but he learns that he has the ability to do more with it. I can't remember if it's just like two different arms he does things, but his right arm is so his right arm is purely destruction, and that's all he knows. And with alchemy, I believe there's like 3 stages to it. The first 2 steps of transmutation are comprehension and destruction, but he doesn't learn or care to learn the part about reconstruction and then shaping. So one of your favorite quotes.
For creation, there always comes destruction, my guy.
So
everything goes back to destruction.
So he recalls that through his brother's teachings and just memory, and then also that ties into kind of the ultimate alchemy signal towards the end that the homunculi father was trying to build. But so he learns that, and it's kind of like he's embracing himself and moving past pure hatred. So with that, his left hand, he's able to reconstruct things. And that was a big character moment, which is incredible, of just like kind of like with Todoroki and My Hero Academia, where it's like all I would use is my ice, and then he uses his fire, and that's a big character moment, and just kind of goes into the writing and the character of that, where it's like, okay, I'm changing. And another big moment was, I kind of like, in the context of the story, don't like this moment overall, but it makes sense. So when Mustang was getting his get back on Envy, and everyone was like, yo, you need to chill, bro. You wild.
No, I do not let him wild out. Let him wild out. Let the cycle of hatred continue, my guy.
I was like, this is a homunculi. You've killed all the other homunculi. What are we talking about?
Exactly. And also, again, this is Maze Hughes. We get our get back for Big Maze, all right? I'm out here with, like, I was out here snapping with him. I'm like,
I 100% wanted him to like burn this man to the crisp, but just with that, Scar was like, hey, I've been in your position. Heck, I've seen you kill my people to an extent, but it's like, even if you just keep up this pure blind hatred, you're going to go down the path that I'm going to go down to, and justifying just like despicable actions in a sense. So even again, Winry interacting with him interacting with Mustang, and then do you kind of want to touch on the impact that he had on Edward and Alphonse in a sense?
Yeah, kind of, because of the fact, like, essentially he is basically a byproduct of like what in the world the government has done, and or specifically what King Bradley and by extension father has done. And also just the fact like, hey, he's just like, listen, I just wanted to save a mesh. I just wanted to save the world and like bring bring balance to bring balance, if you will. But yeah, I pretty much went about it wrong. And of course, like, throughout the course of their journey, they were both just getting attacked by the homunculi. They were the main threat, so it kind of forced them all to work together. and with that, it leads to like them just growing as people, realizing the disillusionment of the government. For them, they just learned how to step up and get active, if you will.
Yeah, so I think that basically covers his main arc. I mean, he helps with the end fight, and then kind of just like goes on his own journey at the end of it. What else?
We gotta talk about his final fight.
Yes.
Literally, like the last fight one of the last fights he has, it's actually the most important one. He fights Wrath. He fights literally King Bradley. He fights literally the person that ordered the massacre of his people.
Oh, to toe.
And boy, that man, was that fight clean, because they were going back and forth, band for band. And that was when he used the reconstruction. That's when he was able to, like, think about it. He used the abilities of his enemies. The thing that, like, he basically is like, hey, I renounced my name.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, it's up for you. It doesn't matter anymore, because of the fact, like, and all this time, like, I believe Bradley, he was talking about like how his God doesn't exist. His God's not real, and just different things like that. And then it takes like literally an act of God, which was the sun shining light into Bradley's eyes, blinding him for a moment for Scar to go and kill him.
Beautiful.
I'd say like that was the true culmination of his character, because again, he fully accepted the alchemy side of him. He fought the person who is literally the Frieza of his people, and he got his get back. He finally managed to fully ixnay the cycle of hatred by murdering the source of his hatred.
And what a lesson to learn. And then he also, in a sense, made peace with his brother's memory because of this at the same time.
Exactly. Yep. And now he's just like, and now he lives with Miles, like they work together, and he just does not care what his name is.
Yeah. So with that wrapping up, unless there's anything else, but just kind of like we touched on the philosophy, I would say, unless there's anything else you want to add to it, but relatability and popularity of Scar. I feel like since Fullmetal Alchemist, again, there's a reason why this is one of the top animes of all time and one of the best introductory. I feel like there's not a lot of characters that outside of the homunculi, and even they're really complicated, that are pure evil for the sake of evil and are just like meh characters, in a sense, where with him, again, starting as one of the main villains and then turning into one of the ultimate like anti-heroes and anti-villains, in a sense, was very like inspiring about his character arc.
Yeah, and it also just goes to show that, hey, you can have a you can have a real tragic backstory, and most people will be like, okay, I get what you're coming from with that. Like it happens time and time again, and this time's no different with me. But yeah, it's like literally, like you see where he's coming from. You see, like, okay, if that was me, I might have crashed out too. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to that, just like, hey, I understand. But like, even then, you still see them confront him for his actions. Like, I see where you're coming from, but you still went sideways. You went left.
Yeah.
You went left when you should have gone right. And we see like his progression and his eventual remorse for that.
Which I really appreciated, because a lot of times, like one of your least favorite tropes is redemption equals death. and so if you're a bad guy, you've done terrible things, 99% of the movie, you have like at the final 1%, you have like some kind of revelation, and then you're like, okay, let me make it right, and you die. Scar, in a sense, had to go through his trauma, went through his quote unquote evil, well, not quote unquote, but his evil phase, and then he had to confront that and be like, oh, what I'm doing is messed up. Even though I know it's messed up and I'm justifying it, but being able to be like, okay, it's messed up. I need to stop this way of doing that. Let me go down this path. That's something that I think is a bigger lesson and takeaway in terms of actual change that like people can learn from, which I think is why he's also relatable in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I just love like, and also again like with this being like kind of a more like religious oriented character, like this is another case where, or this is a case where like you seeing kind of like, at least in terms of like real world, like people who've done like horrendous atrocities in the name of religion, in the name of like, hey, we commit atrocities on these people because they don't believe the same things we do, or like we're doing this because like, hey, my God says like, you know, you guys are sinners, let's get you out of here, let's pack you up. And it just shows like, hey, that line of thinking like is a slippery slope, and that like you're literally perverting the ideals and ideas that you set out to, that you're basically trying to set out to do. And that's and you kind of see that reflection with how the Ishvalan people rejected him.
Yes, it's crazy. So with that, again, we're wrapping up our character study of Scar. We're still in our Philosophy of Pain series. Next week, we're talking about how you end the cycle, or at least prolong the cycle until it starts over again when we get into Eren Yeager, our GOAT, the founding titan and destroyer of humanity. So with that, we are getting into our next segment, and that will be the What's Hot. So this is what's popular in anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, all the like. Meeches, before you go, something that I just found out before we started recording.
Oh no.
Craven the Hunter got pushed back to December.
Can it be pushed back indefinitely?
This is the second time it's got pushed back, and the first time I understand because it was the writer and actor strike. Why did it get pushed back this time?
I don't know.
Sony, we're watching it.
I don't know, and I don't care. Again, can it be pushed back indefinitely? Just cancel this movie outright?
Hey, like we said for Sony, it all leads back to Noel. Just follow our idea.
Again, we laid the blueprint out for y'all. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Just go ahead. Just do what we did, man.
All right, so what you got?
All right, so let's see. Anime, One Piece, goated. Mashl's getting great, at least from where I was. There's Reincarnated as a Slime, season 3. Yes, sir. Konosuba. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, one thing with, I love Konosuba, but one thing with One Piece, I didn't know that Luffy was caked up like that.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Sir. Do I have to tell somebody about this?
Well, they listened to the episode anyway. So.
Dang, you got some explaining to do. But moving on, Kaiju number 8.
Yeah, that's the one I thought you wouldn't mention. Yes, Kaiju number 8 is really good.
It's hilarious. You thought I wouldn't mention it? I was locked in for that show.
Yes, I love Kaiju number 8.
Good heavens, that show is amazing. Oh yeah, so and keeping it going, Go Loser Ranger. It's good. Come on now.
See, I watched the first episode of that and I was like, okay, I know it's gonna pick up. Let me stick with it. Then I watched the second episode. And I was like, okay. Then I got to the third episode and I was like, yes. I don't know where we're going now. So here we go.
Woo. And then also Ninja Kamui's ending. By the time you listen to this episode, the last episode dropped already. So yep, Ninja Kamui, you came, you shocked all of us, and then you decided to put it in CGI and then ruined everything. And then
I have a question. How come with anime, with CGI, it makes the quality of the show itself seem so much worse?
It must be the type of CGI they use. And again, like, especially if certain shows, like, was built on the back of hand-drawn animation, the effect of it contrasted with the CGI makes it way too jarring. Especially if you go directly from hand-drawn to CGI. It's like the uncanny valley just hits on a different level, and you're just like, something ain't right here.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then TV shows, Bad Batch ending soon. X-Men 97 got a 3-part finale coming up, and do we need to talk about episode 7?
I mean, I feel like past 3 weeks we've been like that with X-Men 97.
It's like, do we need to talk about people going rogue? We need to talk about souls getting taken, souls getting snatched, T-shirts being made, hat watch. I'm gonna keep going before I get on a tirade. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we got that right. We have Shogun. It ended, but
Boy,
that is a show, man.
boy,
That is a show, man.
yo, bring me the what's that name of the game? It's my favorite game. Ghost of Tsushima. Make him uncle. Please make him uncle.
That'll be the ultimate season 2, baby.
He has to be the uncle.
Wait, imagine if it's either season 2 of Shogun or the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Oh my.
Either way, my body would be ready.
Yes.
Come on, guys. We giving you ideas. Come on.
All I'm saying is just make sure you hide your secret heart.
If you know, you know. But moving on, Chucky ends up in a very interesting direction right now. Have you seen it? You seen the episode?
I'm not fully caught up on it, but I'm like right before it came back. But I've seen the trailer for where we're at now, and I'm like, what is happening?
It's gone in a direction I never thought we'd reach in Chucky, but I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? It's Chuck Dog. It's the Chuck man. Okay. Now, in terms of comic books, right? Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 4 dropped. Continues to be heat. I'll take no naysayers. If you speak out against it, we fighting. The Rise of the Power of 10, the X-Men comics, they're about to reach a new status quo. Is going to be helmed by Ryan Stegman, the Stegman himself. So
yeah,
cook. All right. Apparently in actually the main Amazing Spider-Man, something about Chasm. I don't know. I don't care anymore. It ain't Ultimate Spider-Man.
I heard Miles got a new suit in a different, obviously in his story.
Oh, in the Miles Morales comic, he doesn't get a new suit. He gets a new transformation.
Okay.
That ends up turning his suit gold. But I'm like, hold on. Cody Ziegler, I know you an anime fan. Did you really have to make my boy go Super Saiyan?
Yes.
I mean, I'm here for it. But I was like, where does the anime reference end and where does it begin? Because we got the Manji kick. You gave this man a sword. Now he going Super Saiyan and he's shooting out Kamehamehas. I'm like, what? Like, how is Miles more powerful than Peter right now? That's great.
All love to our guy, Akira's for him.
Shout out to the GOAT, man. And speaking of GOATs, transitioning out of that to the YouTube sphere, there's a certain series that I've been watching by Rob So Petty, Hood Jujutsu Kaisen. Lord, that series has me on a roll.
I can only imagine.
It has me on a roll because, they be on some hood time. I'm like, man, if this came out when we was in school, everybody would be on anime right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, everybody would be openly with anime. And then also Bad Boy with our 3-star versus 5-star. Hashtag Blaziken for Heisman.
Yes.
And that's all I'm willing to say on that. Well, what you got?
You covered most of it. Only things I'm going to add is Knuckles dropped as of this recording either today or yesterday. It's on Paramount Plus, so it's one of those things where you'll have to find it how you find it.
Oh, so I have to pull my Gokaiger. All right, let's do it.
And then
Straw Hat today.
Yes, and then something on Netflix, 3 Body Problem, I heard is really good. So going from there, we're going to do into a quick get it off your chest. It's about a social media trend that has been driving me crazy on X/Twitter. I don't really get on it for more than honestly 3 minutes a day, but every time I've gotten on it for the past week, there's been this trend where it's look between A and S on your keyboard or something like that. and then that's all it is. And just the timeline is flooded with people doing that. It's the most annoying thing in the world. Meech, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it is horrendous.
Nope, I have not. As a matter of fact, I've been away from social media for the past week because I felt like something was about to pop off.
Dude, it'll literally be like, look between Q and E on your keyboard. And then it's like a picture. And then it'll be like W. And you're like, oh my God, what is this? And I mean, like, your GOAT, One Piece was doing it. A lot of other, like, what I'm talking about, like, everyone was doing it. And it was so annoying, dude.
Right.
Like it's just like, why? So now our resident alien, Elon Musk, he said he's stopping farming engagement. So you will be prosecuted on X to the fullest extent of that law.
Crazy.
And then for just for everyone else, TikTok, you got to the end of 2024.
Yep. Y'all got the end of 2024 to find your seller. And from what I heard, Soulja Boy, yeah, you said he's interested in buying it. So yeah, I'm like, with what money, what residuals you got, my boy? Nobody streams your music anymore, except for when we at the function. You have to hit that, crank that, but that's about it. You ain't getting much after.
Yes.
But yeah, there's that. And also, another thing I want to get off my chest, these YouTube ads is getting ridiculous.
Yes, go.
All right, it's time for me to cook, all right? You know I had to do this. All right, so YouTube, we have to have a serious talk right now because why in the world do I have to sit through three unskippable ads just to watch a video? As a matter of fact, not just to watch a video, I had to face 3 ads in the middle of a 5-minute video. And it's like 45 seconds. You know what that does? That makes me want to click off the video and go watch something else, only to realize the cycle keeps repeating.
A cycle of ads.
The cycle of ads. And it's going to create a new cycle of hatred. All right? Because this is ridiculous. In the old days of YouTube, not even during the adpocalypse was it this horrendous. The fact that you made it unskippable is out. Y'all are out of your minds, okay? And not only that, it's what ads are playing.
Are you getting like the AFKJ or something? It's like a card game, video game thing.
Yes,
I hate that. I'm like, why are you playing every time?
Like, literally, I can't go for 2 minutes, and then I get that ad. I'm like, at this point, I'm pretty sure I can tell you exactly what's said in each time. I'm pretty sure I have it memorized.
Make it stop.
And you also want to know what else? Is the fact that isn't even the only ad that I get. There's just a bunch of ads where, like, well, they're making ads with like fake video games, like fake Pokemon, fake Dragon Ball. I'm like, bro, I know this ain't how it looks. Stop marketing this to me.
Dude, it's crazy because, like, in the past, it'd be like, okay, there are 2 ads and you could skip the ads. And then if you skip the first one in time, you don't have to watch the second one. But now it's like, it'll be like, instead of skip, it'll be like next. So it'll play like half of the first ad, it'll be like next. And then it'll just play the second ad. And then, like you mentioned, if you're watching like a 2-minute video and you watch 2 ads and you get 30 seconds into the video and more ads play, or if like you're watching it and then you close it and then you reopen it and it's in the middle of the video, you hit play, 5 seconds pass and it'll be another ad.
No, not just that. It's even worse. Where sometimes, like in certain videos, like if you exit out and you go back in, you get the initial ad, you come in, 5 seconds, another ad, and then like 5 seconds, another ad.
Yeah.
And not just one ad, it's a set of ads.
And then the thing is too, I could have a workaround, but if you're watching it on your phone or like an iPad or whatever, you have no choice but to watch the ads. But even if you were on your browser, they like implemented this thing like a few, I think, months ago, where it's like if you have an ad blocker, you have like 3 times for it to like block the ads, or like it's you can't watch videos on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, they basically blocked ad blockers. Like, hey, you got this on your browser? Well, guess you can't watch videos anymore. I'm like, are you serious? So y'all just gonna basically say, oh, we can't watch videos just because of the fact we have an ad blocker? Well, why don't you address the reason we have ad blocker in the first place, you idiots?
I mean, I know that's how they and then other people make their money, but at the same time, it's too much. Like, it makes you not want to watch the product.
Yes, it almost makes me want to quit YouTube outright. I'll just get my information from Instagram. I'll get my information from TikTok. Well, however long we got TikTok left.
Yeah, boy, you hit the ads. That was that trigger. I think our videos don't have ads because we're poor. We're the plebes of society, but
or maybe it's because we are the best people and we don't endorse ads.
Oh my god! All right,
do better.
The only recommendation I have is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, either the 2009 version or the manga. I heard 2003 is fine before it splits. It just has a weird ending. So if you want to check those out, go for it. So let's get these plugs and try to avoid these ads and get up out of here.
All right. Instagram, X formerly known as Twitter, Threads under BlurredCity22. Like, comment, subscribe, bell for notifications, all that good jazz. YouTube and Patreon under Blurred City Pod. And if you want to donate some extra cheddar to the Patreon, get access to exclusive episodes never before seen. We also have our Discord linked in the Instagram page. Join the fine community of degenerates to, learn all about like what we do. And then finally, blurredcity22@gmail.com is our email address. Submit Geekout, Freakout, random fan theories. What's something that you need to get off your chest? Send that to us. And if you have any slights against us, go ahead, write it in an email. We'll never see it in the light of day because it goes right to the spam folder. So,
have you ever seen the movie Let's Go to Jail?
I have not.
Oh, it's so funny. It's a comedy, but at the start of it, there's something about if you have complaints, you can look that video up. It's so funny.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. But yeah, that was. Oh yeah, and then also I'm the Jedi Ronin on Instagram and TikTok. However long we got TikTok left for all your Star Wars content.
For my individual author pages, my Instagram Metri_dash, that is METRI_DSH. For my X/Twitter, which I would delete if I was not an author, that is at the Mad-16. And then if you're interested in my book, my sequel book, Phantom Reckoning, A Most Irregular Tale, you can catch that on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. So let's do words of encouragement and leave.
Before creation comes destruction. So destroy your sense of hatred. Destroy a sense of hatred before we can create bonds. And by creating bonds, there's only one level of hatred that we can thoroughly agree needs to bond all of us together, and that's the hatred of ads.
Agreed. One quick what's hot, the Spy Family movie Code White is incredible. So moving forward, my words of encouragement, again, just see people as people and start from there. We can so easily label each other either ideologies, beliefs, race, whatever other descriptions we have, but once we start seeing people as people, we can start from there and move forward. So, like we always say, it's not goodbye forever, it's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blurred City Podcast.
See ya later.